ahead.
Wait, no. If you want to see me more. Hit that like if you want to see me more in the video. No, please do not include that. Take that off.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Today, we are going to be talking about how to talk to your spouse, significant other, partner, whomever, how to talk to them about starting to ride a motorcycle. So today, I have Tiny Tater with me.
Hello.
So that way we can kind of go through what we did when I first mentioned that I wanted to try start riding a motorcycle. To set context, it wasn't just a, hey, I'm just gonna go ride a motorcycle and everything was perfectly fine. Like, we definitely had some lengthy, a little bit heated talks about it. So we'll just share our example and how we both got to a point collectively where we were both comfortable riding on the bike. This was something that kind of came up as a requested video from the Mototherapy Dealing with Fear, so I'll annotate that, so that'll be in the corner if you want to watch that video. But this is more specifically how to deal with other people's fear when it's impacting you. So the example again that we're going to be using is how to talk to your spouse about riding a motorcycle and their fear about you starting a somewhat dangerous hobby or lifestyle. So we're going to be sharing our stories on that, and of course your mileage may vary. It's all very contextual. It depends on the type of relationship that you have with your partner, significant other, whomever. And so we'll just share our stories and what worked for us and kind of the strategy that I used or that we came up together and how we collaborated and make sure that we're both comfortable with me riding. The first thing you have to understand is, why are they concerned? Why are they having the reaction that they're having when you tell them, hey, I want to go ride a motorcycle, right? For some people it might be, hey, that's awesome, go for it, and then, hey, your job is done. But then for other people, like for Tiny Tater, why don't you share what was your immediate reaction when I said, hey, I want to start riding a motorcycle?
So I guess also just for a little bit of context for people, like what this guy was saying about your relationship, we've been together for a long time. Our communication, I wouldn't say we have it down, but we kind of know how each other communicates and our styles. So just a little context, so in case you're like, well, I tried this and it didn't work. We've had a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy first, I'm just telling you this guy. So he came to me and he was like, hey, babe, I'm thinking about wanting to ride a motorcycle. And immediately I was like, why? Because, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm too simple, but I was like, why, you have a car? But then it became this whole thing of like, okay, I guess that it's like kind of a new hobby or whatever, but my immediate thought was, and I kept saying this when we had our conversation / heated argument, was if you get in an accident between you and a car, the car is going to win every single time. Like, there's no way. So that was my main concern, was just safety. Because I don't know how many times you hear about accidents or like, oh, this person's leg got cut off, or like had to be amputated because he got a motorcycle accident, or stuff like that, right? So just a lot of the fear-mongering that you see kind of would get to me a lot. So that's where I was coming from.
Yeah, for you it was a lot of the risk and the danger of like me getting hurt or possibly dying. And on top of the fact that you were pregnant at the time.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, no, you weren't. It was afterwards. Yeah.
No, but we were already planning on starting a family.
Exactly.
And so that was a big concern too, right? Because like, what if I was pregnant? Something happened to you. And then what?
So it's important to understand why are they having the type of reaction that they are. And I'm going to make a generalized assumption that for most people, their concern is coming from a place of love and care, right? They care about your safety, they care about your well-being, and so you taking on a dangerous hobby, that's why they're reacting, is because they don't want you to get hurt or they don't want you to die. So that's why they're reacting in the way that they are. Generally speaking, it could just be that they don't like motorcycles and they just don't want you on a motorcycle and everything else be damned. So it could be that as well, but that's a completely different problem. For Tiny Tater, it was coming from a place of love, and I understood that, and so that's kind of why we had those talks, because I knew she cared about me. It wasn't just, I don't want you to have fun, I don't want you to try new things. It was a different scenario. And use that as your common ground, right? And so that's whenever you're trying to talk about something that can be kind of conflicting or challenging, you want to come at a place of common ground, and it's us versus the problem, not me versus you. So you want to try and collaborate, you want to partner together whenever possible, because your ultimate goal is to get them to be comfortable with you getting on the bike. And this is one of the things that I told Tiny Tater was, you know, if every time I get on the bike, it's going to start an argument, or you're going to be stressed out, and you're going to be anxious, and you're going to be panicking every time I try and go ride, it's not worth it. Because then I'm not going to be able to enjoy the ride, because I'm just thinking about how you're panicking at home, and it's just going to be starting a whole bunch of fights, right? So we needed to get to a place where we both felt comfortable enough to where I can go on the bike and enjoy myself, and Tiny Tater, hey! And Tiny Tater's, you know, being able to live her life at home, right? Not in a panicked mess. The way that I framed the conversation was, these are all the things that I'm going to do to be as safe as possible. Because Tiny Tater's primary concern was risk and danger and injury. So I said, here's all the things that I'm going to do to help reduce that risk, right? So there's no way to eliminate the risk, because that's just unrealistic. But in the event that something does happen to me, I've given myself every single chance of coming out of that unscathed, ideally. Or if I do get injured, I've greatly mitigated that injury because I've invested very highly in top quality gear. I went to a training course. I went to 2 training courses. I did the beginner and intermediate. I continue to practice, so that way in the event something does happen, I have the skill set to be able to protect myself to the best of my ability.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say that I wasn't an absolute no, you're not riding. Like, I was just hesitant about it, like you were saying, that, you know, safety is a big thing, because, I mean, I actually don't know if we talked about it, but yeah, like when I'd go to the Philippines, I would ride motorcycles too, and it didn't bother me, but safety standards are a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just more, hey, I'm concerned with the risk that is coming. I don't think I ever once said, no, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not our relationship. That was one of the things that we committed to for a very long time in our relationship, was we're not going to hold each other back from trying different things if we want to try it. So, yeah, Tiny Tater wouldn't be the type to stonewall it and say, hard no, you are not going to do this. She would still let me do it, but I would know that unless she was on board, it would be a panicked mess, and then I wouldn't be able to enjoy myself because it would just be undue stress, right? So that's one of the things I always appreciate about Tiny Tater is she lets me do whatever I want to do for the most part.
All I say is just don't piss me off.
Yeah, just don't piss you off. That's really the hard rule. Don't do anything to piss you off.
Yeah, like I don't know how many times he's been like, hey, I'm gonna go out and do this. I'm like, all right, don't do anything that'll piss me off. And then there's been a few times he comes back and he's like, hey, babe. And I'm like, what did I say?
What did I say?
What did I say as you were leaving?
Yeah. So those are the things, and then it was also another big part of it was, hey, let me first go take the course. Let me see if this is something that I actually want to do. Then the agreement we came to after that was, okay, let me ride for 6 months. Let me see if this is going to be something I want to do long term. and then let's talk about it again, right? So that's when I went and bought a learner bike. So that's when I went out and bought my 2010 Honda Shadow RS, which is a great bike, by the way. So I went out, bought that bike. I practiced a lot. Continued to do safe riding, continued to invest in gear from head to toe, and really just followed through on everything that I said I would do to protect myself and to make sure that I am riding as safe as possible. And so we continued to do that, and then after that 6 months, that's when I really said, hey, this is something that is really amazing and good for me, from a therapeutic standpoint. But it's also a ton of fun, and I really want to continue to do it. Then that's when, Tiny Tater said, okay, you can continue to go out and ride.
So I think the first few times I was like, I wouldn't say like freaking out, but I was like, okay. And I'd be like, okay, he's been gone for an hour. Where is he? How are we home yet? But I will say, actually, like thinking about it now, when you decided to buy the bike, I think that's when we got in a super heated argument.
Yeah.
And I think it's solely because I let someone else get into my head about it. Someone else was, giving their opinion on this whole thing, right? And it kind of really set me off.
And for context, and if you ride motorcycles, you know exactly what I'm about to say. This person does not ride a motorcycle. And when they heard that, hey, I'm going to start riding a motorcycle, their immediate reaction was, well, one of my friends rode a motorcycle and they died. And he was saying how, I don't remember the exact specifics of the story, but basically he was riding and he lost control and he literally said he splattered into a cliff face or a rock or something, like a giant boulder, and they had to scoop him up with a shovel. And so, of course, it's like, okay, you're over elaborating the point of that, but it's like, is that really something you want to say to somebody's partner? That's the story you tell them, and you already know that they're anxious about it and they're stressed out about it, and that's what you tell them. So that's for context what Tiny Tater is talking about, where that's what triggered a argument, because then it just got very, very heated very quickly in that moment.
Yeah, it got heated really quickly, because then I was like, all right, swear warning. I was like, no, if you're not going riding, I'm not going to put up with this shit. Blah, 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 blah. No, you're not getting that bike. You tell that guy you're backing out now.
Yeah.
So,
and then, of course, I was like, this isn't what we talked about. Why did you let me get so excited about buying a bike and starting to ride if this was going to be how you would react when I was going to follow through on it? Right? This isn't what we talked about. Again.
Hey. Sorry.
Oh.
Cut this out. I need a pee.
Oh, okay.
I know we're coming up to the
you want me to stop? You want to stop up there? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to say, hey, before you like.
Okay. I'll stop.
My butt.
Alright. So yeah, just to continue on, that really sparked kind of a heated argument, and we came to an agreement again after that, after everything settled down. And that was one of the things I was telling her, where it's like, everybody knows someone who's been hurt or killed on a motorcycle, right? And that's why I'm going to do everything I can to protect myself, right? To continue to practice, to invest in high quality gear. And I was honest, saying, hey, there is no guarantee that I won't get hurt. That's unrealistic, right? This is a dangerous hobby, and you are at a heightened risk of, being killed or being injured, just by the nature of the hobby. So, I didn't say, hey, don't worry, nothing bad is going to happen, because I have no way of following through on that. That's not true. That's setting an unrealistic expectation. So I was just very upfront and honest, saying, hey, if this is truly going to be something where you continue to react and you're continuing to have an emotional reaction, and it's not going to be something that we can really get through, then it's not worth it, right? It's not worth it for me to try and pick up this hobby or trying to pick up this lifestyle and have you constantly worrying about me, right? Because as I said before, it's not worth it. That was fast.
How to pee. I'm back, baby.
I'm back, baby.
We're back, baby.
We've been watching Futurama a lot.
Yeah, we've been watching a lot more Futurama. What happened?
I mean, I feel like this is a no shit, but I want to say it. Don't say shit like that to someone. Don't say like, they had to scrape my friend off the pavement to your friend's wife, who is like debating whether or not they should go riding.
Yeah, that's like, one, that was a really just not a smart thing to say or do to someone who's already very sensitive to that. But yeah, we came to an agreement after all of that, and then I got the bike, continued to practice, and continued to do everything, and it was still a very, sensitive thing to talk about for a while. But then over time, Tiny Tater got more comfortable with it, and then as I continued to prove that I'm being safe and I'm practicing and I'm getting more confident and comfortable on the bike, that risk and that danger is being diminished to the best of my ability.
Yeah, and I mean, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be on here right now, too.
Exactly. I mean, and that's also my personality, too, is, I'm obviously fairly comfortable with risk in general, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be on the bike. But I'm fairly comfortable with risk. But that being said, I won't take unnecessary risks. So I understand, the overall risk of being on the motorcycle, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm just going to be a squid and just not wear any gear and just do everything right, or just say YOLO and, just do whatever. I'm still going to do everything I can to mitigate that risk. And Tiny Tater knows that about me, right? Where I'm not going to be riding recklessly. I'm not going to be riding dangerously, unnecessarily. If I need to do something, I'll do it. But, I'm not going to be just flying down these roads at hundreds of miles an hour for fun, because that's just way too much risk. So she knows that about me. She knows I'm not that type to do that. So when I say I'm going to ride safe, she knows I'm being honest and truthful about that. And like the most, and I'll tell her this, like the most I'll do is like, yeah, I'll speed, like I'll go faster than I'm probably supposed to, but I'm not going excessively that fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I won't, generally I won't do things that, will put myself in a position of risk, unnecessarily. So what was it for you that kind of got you comfortable enough to be on the bike?
Okay, so also for context, like I said earlier, like I've been on bikes in the Philippines before, so in general.
And when she means bikes, they're more like scooters.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I already have a head start compared to other people. Not a good head start, but like...
And more than most people, I would say.
Yeah, it was already something that I was okay with. I think after also having a kid, it was like another thing that you and I could do without the kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as much as I love Yoshi, like, I do miss, like, just me and you time, and so this was another, like, me and you time.
Yeah, so, and everyone's different, right? Some people are just never going to want to get on the bike, and that's okay, right? And some people are going to, over time, get comfortable with it and say, hey, let's try it.
Honestly, if your partner or your significant other, whatever you call each other, doesn't want to get on the bike, that's fine. You can find something else to do. It doesn't have to be the bike.
Talk to your partner, talk to your spouse, talk to whomever about it. Understand where they're coming from. Understand why they're having the reaction that they are. Again, everybody's different. And then talk about what you can do together to make sure that you come to an agreement, right? Because generally speaking, it's not going to be as fun. It's not going to be something you want to do long term if it is always causing an argument, right? If it's always causing some type of fight, some type of stress, then in my opinion, it's not worth it, because it just really taints the whole experience. So understand where they're coming from, try and figure out a solution together. Again, it's me and you versus this problem, not me versus you with the problem. And it's not going to just be like snap of a finger, okay, suddenly they're fine and there's no issue with it. I would say like those first 6 months when I was riding, it definitely caused Tiny Tater some level of stress. It wasn't just a snap of the finger, hey, suddenly she's fine with it. And I mean, that was also something too, where I think it was just, I was talking about how beneficial it was for me just to be able to go out and do something on my own
Yeah.
And like, again, how therapeutic it was, right? Just being able to get outside and just focus my thoughts, and just really being able just to have a good time by myself and just get away from the stress of work, the pandemic, and everything, and just being able to focus and just go ride. Yeah, and I would share that. I would tell Tiny Tater, like, you know, all these positive experiences that I'm having, and so it's not just like, hey, I'm just going to go out and ride, and she never hears about it. You know, I was really sharing, like, hey, this is how happy it's making me.
Yeah. Well, and also too, you know, it's something that you've always told me is that you like working with your hands, you like building things, like making things. So like, also getting a chance to, you know, do things to your bike.
Going back to it, like, that was kind of like the vows we made to each other, was not to hold each other back, right? So like, if we tell each other no, then we know it's really serious.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's really happened yet. But in general, like, we promised to each other not to hold each other back. We're going to try and support each other to the best of our ability if we want to try something. And, you know, that's really honestly one of the things that's really helped us. So this has kind of turned into a video about our relationship. But
Sorry,
it's also...
I love talking about us.
But you know, it all plays a role, right? It all comes into, it's all contextual. It all plays a role in types and how you have that conversation. Because we have this foundation of communication, and again, it's not perfect, and you know, we still argue like every other couple in the world.
Hashtag humble brag.
But ignoring that, but you know, it's all contextual, because it's all going to frame how you have that conversation and how receptive they're going to be about it.
Yeah, and this is what works for us.
Yeah.
It may not work for you. It may not work for your significant other. Like, but I think, you know, if it's something you really want to do, you'll find a way. Not saying like go behind their back, but like you will find a way to work this out with your significant other.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's the outcome you want, you know, I can't say, but you'll figure out how to work it out. Yeah, that was basically it. And yeah, here we are. I'm on the bike now.
Yeah. So in general, you know, just to summarize, that's kind of what we did. Again, your mileage may vary. It's all contextual. It depends on the type of relationship and how you communicate with your partner. If you're thinking about riding, you know, I highly recommend, do start off with the course. Don't just jump into it, full-blown commitment. Take baby steps into it, right?
Yeah, I think that honestly was a big help. Just like, hey, let me just try it. 'Cause honestly, you could be just like, hey, I really want to do this, and then you try it, and you're like, nah, man, this is boring.
Yeah.
Sorry, fourth word, but like, you know, what you're saying, I think that definitely helps.
Yeah. So take those baby steps, try it out, keep them in the loop, keep them involved as much as you can, and again, try and collaborate together and come up with a creative solution that's going to get both of you comfortable enough. Hey!
Hey! You missed the first guy.
That's the second guy. That's the second guy.
Yeah, I know. I missed the first guy. I saw you go, hey, and then I was like, no, wait, I wasn't looking.
Oh.
And so I had to, like, double it up on that one.
Oh, okay. So you're catching up. Okay.
I'm catching up.
All right, everybody. So we're gonna head over to a farmer's market. So we're gonna get some vegetables and food and stuff,
Local.
coffee and all that. So we're gonna take off. But hopefully this has helped you. So if you're thinking about riding, you know, have that conversation. Maybe use this as a framework to share that, to start that conversation with your spouse, your significant other, whomever. And if you have any other questions, leave them in a comment down below. If you have talked to your significant other about starting to ride motorcycles, how did that conversation go? What were the things that you did to help frame that conversation and how to have it successfully? Or, if you'd be so kind, share what didn't work when talking to your significant other about riding. So that way, you know, we can help each other, help other new riders who are, you know, concerned or nervous about starting that conversation and getting into this amazing hobby, profession, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. So as always, everybody, be
Wait.
brave.
No. If you want to see me more. Hit that like if you want to see me more in the video. No, please do not include that. Take that out.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, you know YouTubers.
Alright, I'm just gonna end the video here. Alright everybody, be brave, do good, take care of yourselves. Oh Lord. Have a great day everybody, we'll see you in the next one.
Have a good day, everyone.